That's a knitting needle. That's not an acupuncture needle. That's a rod. Hi, my name is Christian St. Pierre. Welcome to Poked in the Movies. Every week I'm going to be choosing at least one movie which shows acupuncture being performed on screen, and using my experience and expertise as a registered acupuncturist, I'm going to react, review, and grade the acupuncture in that scene. Should be fun. Let's get started. The late 60s and early 70s were a really interesting time for cinema. You had Hollywood in America producing big blockbuster movies, but you also had other studios in other countries producing just as exciting material. The Hong Kong film industry producing the kung fu movies, the Italian film industry producing a wide range of comedies, but also spaghetti westerns. In 1973, spaghetti westerns were on the decline and kung fu movies from Hong Kong were on the rise. So what the Italian film industry decided to do was to mash the two together. My Name is Shanghai Joe is produced by veteran spaghetti western director Mario Tsaiano. It features Klaus Kinski as one of the leading villains and introduces Chen Li as the hero. Now, the actor who plays Joe the Chinaman is actually not Chinese. Although he is credited as Chen Li in the movie, his real name is Miyoshin Hayakawa. He's a Japanese actor who was actually cast because he looked like a young Dustin Hoffman. My Name is Shanghai Joe is actually a very underrated movie. It is one part spaghetti western, one part kung fu movie, one part horror movie, and one part political commentary on race and prejudice. The story starts with our hero, Joe, arriving by boat to San Francisco in the early 1880s and wanting to travel to Texas to become a cowboy. Joe faces prejudice at every turn, but eventually he gets hired by a ranch who's looking to bring cattle into Texas from Mexico. He quickly realizes that the cattle being brought over from Mexico are not cows, but actually Mexican slaves. This violates Joe's strong sense of justice and ethics, and events eventually transpire which lead him to kill the slave traders. Word of Joe's actions makes its way to the ranch where the slaves were meant to be kept, and the ranch owner then hires 4 bounty hunters to exact his revenge and to kill him. The 4 bounty hunters are actually serial killers, and Joe ends up having to face them one by one. It's during his encounter with the 3rd bounty hunter, a psychopath known as Scalper Jack, played by Klaus Kinski, that Joe ends up receiving gunshot wounds which end up requiring him to extract bullets from his leg. And this is where we see the acupuncture scene. Let's take a look. So Joe has escaped an assassination attempt.
They will never heal until the bullets can be removed.
Would you bring me my sack, please?
You bring in my sack, okay? There's some kind of Chinese box. He's heating up a knife.
But it will hurt a lot. You won't be able to stand it.
I guess he sterilized it. Alright, what's he got inside the box?
There's a way to do such things called acupuncture.
Wow, that's a knitting needle. That's not an acupuncture needle. That's a rod. There's no acupuncture needle of that size.
The needles are pushed deep into the flesh to block the nerves. And that means that there is no pain.
So in the 1880s, at the time that this movie is taking place, the idea that acupuncture relieved pain by blocking nerve signals was a very new Western idea. The Chinese medical paradigm that acupuncture evolved in actually used the concepts of qi and blood and balance. So pain is the consequence of a blockage or an imbalance in the body, and so acupuncture could move qi and blood and remove blockages. In other words, restore balance to the body. So Shanghai Joe saying that acupuncture works by blocking nerves, it's a bit of an anachronism. The average Chinese person in the 1880s would have still viewed acupuncture through the lens of qi and blood and yin and yang, as opposed to biomedical terms. Now, modern biomedical research into acupuncture has shown how acupuncture interacts with nerves and can actually create a pain-relieving effect through what is known as gate theory, meaning that acupuncture can actually block pain signals from reaching the brain through the nervous system. Now, where there's pain, there is tension, and where there's tension, there's a lack of circulation. So when pain disappears, then tension is relieved, and circulation is restored to a particular area. And that's one of the important functions of acupuncture, is to restore circulation, which can both reduce inflammation as well as bring fresh healing blood and metabolites into a region, which can then in turn speed up the healing process. So it looks like Joe is about to perform a little bit of surgery on himself using acupuncture as an anesthetic. Anesthesia is one of the ways in which acupuncture can be used. These days acupuncture is still used as an anesthetic in certain minor and major surgeries, as well as for dentistry. And of course, the pain relieving effects of acupuncture can be used outside of a surgical setting to treat acute and chronic pain. That needle hasn't been sterilized or anything. That's just going to cause Joe way more problems than it's going to fix. So in this particular case, this is not real needling. The needle is probably a collapsible needle, just like a collapsible knife. He is needling along a pathway that coincides with the wound that he has. So at least that. So the amount that Joe is supposed to have inserted that rod into his leg would not permit him to have his knee bent at that angle. The tip of the rod, I'm not going to call it a needle, would actually be sticking out of his leg at this point. And I guess you took the bullet out? We're not... Well, obviously he seems to have done his procedure without any pain, or with minimal pain.
Toe ointment, it halts infection, very precious.
So that's it. That's the scene. What is there to say, really, except this is not an example of real acupuncture being performed on screen. The needle is a rod. Acupuncture needles are hair thin. Even the thickest needles that have been found in Chinese archaeological sites are much, much thinner than that. The needles weren't sterilized. He sterilized his knife, but he didn't sterilize his needle. His explanation of what was going on, although it's valid today, it doesn't fit with what he would have known in the 1880s. Although the point he uses is in line with the wound, that is not really a point that we would use to create a pain relieving effect on the shin like that. The depth that he supposedly needles to is unrealistic, unnecessary, and of course it's just for show. He doesn't actually needle that deeply, as we can see later on, right? When his knee is bent, the needle's off at an angle where the tip of that rod should be tearing through his leg. The idea that acupuncture can be used as an anesthetic, that's true. And the idea that he performs minor surgery on himself using acupuncture as an anesthetic, entirely possible. So as far as a grade goes, I'm going to give the acupuncture scene in My Name is Shanghai Joe a C-. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. I'm always happy to hear from you. So let me know what you thought about the grade that I gave this acupuncture scene. If you have any comments or questions, or if you have a movie that you'd like me to review, you can always write it down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the bell button so you'll get a notification as soon as my next video comes out. That's it for today. See you next time.